How's it going, Eliminators? Today, we're going to be finishing up part 2 of how to summarize your snowblower. And today, I'll be showing you how to protect your snowblower using a little bit of rust inhibitor. So with that being said, let's get right into it. Once again, guys, I will link all of my regular maintenance stuff like greasing the axles or lubricating the drive, pretty much servicing a snowblower from top to bottom. I will link that in the top right of your screen and in the description down below. The only other thing that I wanted to mention now is if you're going to be storing your equipment, spraying it down with a little bit of rust inhibitor never hurts the machine. It's always going to help prevent rust because, as we all know, rust is always an issue when dealing with anything that's metal, especially if you live in an area like I do, Southern Ontario. They really lay down the salt heavy on the roads. That stuff gets plowed into your driveway. You're going to be using your snowblower to clear that snow with the salt in it. Maybe you salt your driveway as well to prevent ice buildup, and you're going to be getting that stuff inside of your snowblower. So what products would I recommend? Well, I'll take you over to the workbench and show you. You're going to find thousands of them online or in your local hardware store. One really isn't better than the other, in my opinion, unless you watched like a Project Farm video where, he does a comparison. But for the most part, I use a lot of this Rust Cure Formula 3000 by Corrosion Free. I use this in the auger housing as well as on the snowblowers themselves. Basically the same way you would undercoating a vehicle, and I actually use that product to undercoat my truck to keep everything nice and rust-free under there. Apart from that, Rust Check has their Coat and Protect. It basically does exactly what it says, and for the most part, you can just spray that onto the paint with a small rag or paper towel and just wipe it off. Basically, anything is better than nothing. Apart from that, you also have the Wurth Rost Off Gold. That stuff is a little expensive, but man, does it work good as well. And pretty much, like I said, guys, you're just using this stuff to spray down your equipment to help create a barrier and prevent rust. If you watched my series on this, you guys know that this snowblower housing is pretty much mint, and I'd like to keep it that way. So using some of this Wurth Rost Off Gold, we're going to spray down the housing here, and then we're going to use a rag, and we're just going to rub that in. As I mentioned, one product really isn't better than another. In my opinion, you just want to have something to help prevent against rust. Coming over to the other side, we'll use some of the Rust Check Coat and Protect. Same thing. Compared to the Wurth, the Rust Check Coat and Protect definitely seems stickier, less runny, but you want to try and get all of the seams because that's where water is going to get into and it's going to start to rust. Apart from all of the products though, the Rust Cure Formula 3000 is probably the one that I use the most. And again, just spray it on and wipe it off. Out of these three here, I'd pretty much recommend them all. The Wurth definitely sprays much finer and is less sticky, so it's easier to use a rag to smear it as basically like a top coat. Although the Coat and Protect is very sticky, it is designed to be used as a top coat, so I'd recommend that stuff as well. Other than that, I've used the Rust Cure Formula 3000 for a long time now. I use it on my truck and I've used it on snowblowers, and that's the one that I find myself using the most. However, unlike the Wurth, it doesn't spray out in a nice fine stream. Even if you have the tube removed, it shoots out almost in like a straight line, so you really can't spread it over a wide area. You pretty much have to spray down the whole thing, which ends up using a lot of that product, or you have to spray it in a small area and then really work it into the other areas. So that's why I would recommend the Wurth for something like a top coat on the top of your snowblower, and I would recommend the Rust Cure for the auger housing. Spray down your equipment, wipe that off, use a rag to really wipe it in, and your machines will be ready for summer storage. All right, so we now have the majority of the snowblower's auger housing covered, except for the underside and the access panel. This one's plastic, so we really don't have to coat it, but you're going to want to coat yours as well. So I'm going to get this snowblower flipped up and we'll finish off the bottom end. But before you do that, you might want to look for little things such as this return spring for the deflector chute. Go ahead and spray all of this, as well as on this particular one, there's this support bar that I sprayed down as well. Basically anything with a painted surface, you guys are going to spray down to coat and protect. Once again, using your rag to wipe that rust inhibitor all over the paint. For any areas that have a seam, spray down a little heavier. And for metal parts that you might not want to spray directly, you can spray a little bit of rust inhibitor onto your rag and then use the rag to just cover that area. We got this thing shining. And don't forget your wheels too. Now you guys saw my assembly video, so you know that I've already used some Clean Flow honey goo to lubricate all of these areas. You could use a rust inhibitor though. It's really the same thing for the most part. You're just lubricating the area. So take your rust inhibitor and spray down any area that you think might need lubrication. Keep in mind, we're not worrying about making a mess. We're just trying to lubricate and protect. And once again, if you watched my series on this, you know that there was a little bit of rust here that we just painted with some black spray paint. So again, a little bit on the rag. You don't really have to spray this stuff in heavy. We're not using a bunch. I mean, that can was new when I started, and I've only maybe used a third to a half of a can, really. And on this particular snowblower, it does have a plastic chute adapter that connects the auger housing where the second stage impeller is to the metal discharge chute up on top there. And if you watched my assembly video, you would know that I did use some white lithium in there before reassembly. But if you have something that's made out of metal there, go ahead and spray that area as well. So now that you've finished all of those steps, let's just briefly discuss cost, because to be honest, this is fairly inexpensive to summarize your snowblower and pretty much guarantee that not only will it start up on the first or second pull in the wintertime, but also that it won't be sitting in your shed rotting away due to moisture or salt that was left on the paint surface. Now, obviously, you're going to have to go out and buy all of these products. You don't have to use these three specifically. You can use any product you want for the most part. So your cost to do this the first time is going to be a little bit more than the second time. So starting off with the canned fuel, as I said in part one, they run for about $10. The engine fogging spray right here runs for about $6 a can, and the Wurth is a little bit more expensive at around $11 a can. We used about half a can of the engineered fuel. We've probably not even used a third of the can of the engine storage spray, or the cylinder fog as it's commonly referred to. And as far as the Wurth goes, I've probably only used a third to maybe half of a can, because the can is a little bit smaller than some of the other larger products like the Rust Cure or the Rust Check Coat and Protect. So all in all, I've probably used about $5 worth of engineered fuel. I've probably used about $2 of engine storage spray, and I've probably used about $5 of rust inhibitor for a total of about $12, maybe $12.50 to completely summarize my snowblower. Now, I have seen some other guys use a wax to coat the paint. That will work too. However, keep in mind that a wax is not necessarily a rust inhibitor. It pretty much just coats the paint and helps water to bead off of the paint. So in my professional opinion, I would highly recommend using a rust inhibitor. The end results are going to be almost identical to what something would look like if it was waxed, but you're going to get the additional benefits of the rust preventative, helping to prevent your expensive snowblower, in some cases, from rotting away. And before we wrap up today's video, I just wanted to give a shout out to what I think was one of our subscribers who sent me this awesome Milwaukee 6-piece cushion grip screwdriver set. Absolutely awesome gift. I totally didn't expect anything like this. They got the address wrong, so this ended up going to my neighbor's house across the street. He was kind enough to walk it over, and man, this thing is awesome. Again, Milwaukee 6-piece cushion grip set. There is the part number there. And this wasn't all that cheap, guys. This was $41.50 US, and they even paid about $12 shipping. So a little over $50. Whoever sent me this, thank you very much. We definitely appreciate it. Well, that's going to wrap up today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, think about leaving me a thumbs up. You know, it really helps me out. You can click here to subscribe and click over here to watch one of my previous videos. I upload every single week, so be sure to stop on by next week. Check channel out for new content. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.